The stars looked different from the observation deck of the horizon. Captain George Hudson stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the vast emptiness of space. After 20 years in the Earth Defense Fleet, he still felt small when faced with the universe's endless expanse. "Captain, we have movement at coordinates 22740, 189, said Officer Kelly Martinez, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. Hudson turned away from the viewport. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life. A ship unlike any Hudson had ever seen moved slowly toward them. It had no visible engines, just a smooth, oval shape that seemed to glide through space. Its surface shimmered with an odd blue-green light. "Are they responding to our hails?" Hudson asked. Communications Officer Alan Moore shook his head. "No, sir, but they're sending something. I've never seen signals like these before." Hudson felt a tightness in his chest. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. First contact, real first contact, not just finding microbes on Mars or simple life forms on Europa. An intelligent species with technology advanced enough for space travel. "Send the welcome message again. All frequencies, all languages," Hudson ordered. 12 miles beneath them at NASA's Deep Space Communications Center in Arizona, Dr. Lisa Taylor stared at her computer screen in confusion. Strange patterns flowed across her monitor like digital water. "What are you trying to say?" she whispered to herself, pushing a strand of brown hair behind her ear. For 6 years she had worked on the first contact communication protocol. Now that the moment had finally arrived, none of her preparations seemed to help. Her colleague Ben Wright leaned over her shoulder. "Anything?" Lisa shook her head. "It's not like any language structure we expected. It's almost like..." "Like what?" "Like, they're not talking to us at all. More like they're talking about us. These patterns here," she pointed to a sequence on her screen. "They match our defense satellite grid exactly." Ben's face paled. "You mean they're scanning us?" "I mean they already finished scanning us. Now they're sharing the results." On the horizon, Lieutenant Peter Shaw watched the alien ship with growing unease. At 26, he was the youngest weapons officer ever assigned to Earth's flagship. His hands hovered over the targeting controls, though the captain had given strict orders not to power up any weapon systems. "Sir," Shaw called out, "I'm detecting energy buildup in the alien vessel." Hudson walked over to Shaw's station. "What kind of energy?" "Unknown, sir, but it's focused. It's pointing right at us." "Defensive posture only, Lieutenant. Remember your orders." Shaw nodded, but sweat beaded on his forehead. The energy readings continued to climb. On Earth, Lisa's computer suddenly chimed with an alert. "Oh no," she breathed. "What is it?" Ben asked. "They're using some kind of scanning beam. Very powerful, but our systems might interpret it as..." Her words were cut off as an emergency alarm blared through the facility. Back on the horizon, warning lights flashed across Shaw's console. "Sir, weapons lock detected." Shaw's voice cracked with tension. "Are you certain?" Hudson demanded. "The system is registering it as a weapons lock, sir." Shaw's fingers flew across his console. "They're going to fire. Stand down, Lieutenant." Hudson ordered firmly. "That's an order." But Shaw's training took over. In all their simulations, letting the enemy fire first meant death. His hand moved almost on its own, activating the forward pulse cannons. "No." Hudson shouted, but it was too late. A bright beam of concentrated energy shot from the horizon, striking the alien ship's smooth hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a ripple seemed to pass through the strange vessel. "What have you done?" Hudson whispered. The alien ship's shimmering surface dimmed. It slowly backed away, moving in an erratic pattern now. "Sir," Moore called from communications. "We're receiving a transmission. It's in English." Hudson turned to the main screen, dread filling his stomach. A harsh mechanical voice filled the bridge. "You will regret this transgression." Then, the alien ship vanished, seeming to fold into itself until nothing remained. Hudson turned to Lieutenant Shaw, fury in his eyes. "Do you understand what you've just done? You may have started a war with the first intelligent species we've ever encountered." Shaw stood frozen, the reality of his actions sinking in. 12 days later, the first reports came in from the outer solar system. Strange ships had appeared near the Mars colony. More were spotted near Jupiter's moons where humanity had mining operations. Within hours, Earth's outposts on Titan reported contact with the unknown vessels. In the emergency meeting room of the United Defense Council, Admiral Frank Miller pounded his fist on the table. "We need to strike now while we still can," he insisted. "Show them we won't be intimidated." Across the table, Ambassador Helen Ross shook her head. "One trigger-happy officer already put us in this mess. We need diplomacy, not more violence." Hudson sat quietly, listening to the arguments bounce back and forth. His career was over. That much was certain. The inquiry into Shaw's actions had been quick and decisive, but Hudson had accepted his share of the blame. He was the captain. The responsibility was ultimately his. The doors to the meeting room burst open. Dr. Lisa Taylor rushed in, ignoring the protests of the security guards. "You need to hear this," she said, connecting her tablet to the room's main display. "We've been analyzing their language patterns nonstop. I think I understand what's happening." The display showed complex wave patterns and strange symbols. The Vraxians, that's what they call themselves, communicate not just with words but with demonstrations of power, Lisa explained. In their culture, strength doesn't just earn respect, it's literally how they say hello. Our attempts at peaceful communication mean nothing to them. "So Shaw was right to fire?" Miller asked. "No," Lisa said firmly. "But our mistake wasn't firing. It was firing without enough force to earn their respect. To them, our attack looked like a child throwing a tantrum." Hudson leaned forward. "What are you saying, Doctor?" Lisa took a deep breath. "I'm saying that to the Vraxians, we just announced ourselves as weak prey trying to act tough. And in their culture, there's only one response to that." As if to confirm her words, every screen in the room suddenly switched to emergency broadcasts. Vraxian ships had appeared in Earth's atmosphere. Dozens of them. Hundreds. "They're here," Hudson said quietly, "and they're not looking for friends." Outside, the sky filled with oval-shaped vessels, their surfaces shimmering with blue-green light. Humanity's first contact had turned into humanity's first interstellar war. 3 months passed since the Vraxians first appeared in Earth's skies. 3 months of fear and fighting. The aliens did not attack Earth directly. Not yet. Instead, they started with Mars. The red planet fell in less than a day. Earth's defense systems there were new and untested. They failed within hours. The Vraxians took hundreds of colonists prisoner. No one knew if they were still alive. Dr. Lisa Taylor hadn't slept properly since that first day. Her small office at NASA was now filled with screens, notes, and empty coffee cups. She had one job now: understand the enemy. "I think I've got something," she said to herself, staring at the patterns on her main screen. For weeks, she had been studying every Vraxian message they managed to intercept. Now she saw a pattern that made her heart beat faster. She grabbed her tablet and ran down the hallway. She didn't bother knocking on Admiral Frank Miller's door. "Admiral, I need to show you this," she said, breathing hard. Admiral Miller looked up from his desk with tired eyes. At 62, he had been ready to retire before the aliens came. Now he worked 18-hour days trying to save humanity. "What am I looking at, Dr. Taylor?" he asked as Lisa placed her tablet in front of him. "Their communication patterns. See how they always start with a show of force before any negotiation? It's not just their way, it's their culture." She pointed to a series of symbols. Every peaceful exchange in their language begins with a display of strength. When we tried to talk first and show restraint, they saw us as weak. Admiral Miller frowned. "You're saying our attempts at peace made things worse? To them, offering peace before showing strength is like lying down before a predator. They don't respect it. They see it as an invitation to attack." Miles away, in a secret military base, Captain George Hudson prepared for the most important mission of his life. After the disaster of first contact, many wanted him court-martialed. Instead, Admiral Miller gave him a chance at redemption. "Teams ready?" Hudson asked his second-in-command, Major Olivia Green. "Yes, sir. 12 soldiers, our best. If anyone can get our people out of that Vraxian base on Mars, it's them." Hudson nodded. After losing his ship, he had requested frontline duty. Miller assigned him to lead the rescue mission to Mars. They would use a new ship with experimental stealth technology, the Nightshade. "We leave in 30 minutes, Hudson said. "Let's bring our people home." The journey to Mars took 3 days, instead of the usual week. The Nightshade was small but fast. When they arrived, the red planet looked different. Strange structures now covered much of the surface, Vraxian buildings and ships. "Stay in the shadow of Phobos," Hudson ordered the pilot. "We'll wait until the main fleet moves to the far side before we make our approach." The rescue plan was simple but dangerous. Land near the prison camp, get in, free the prisoners, get out. They had studied the Vraxian patrol patterns for weeks. There would be a 5-minute window when they could land undetected. When the moment came, the Nightshade dropped silently toward the Martian surface. The landing was perfect. No alarms, no response from the nearby Vraxian base. "Move out," Hudson whispered. The team exited the ship wearing the new Mars combat suits. They had 20 minutes to complete the mission. The prison camp was a simple structure, a dome with strange symbols etched into its metallic surface. The team used a portable computer to decrypt the door lock, and they were in. Inside, they found 68 Earth colonists huddled in small cells. They looked thin and scared, but alive. "We're getting you out of here," Hudson told them. "Stay quiet and follow us." As they began releasing the prisoners, an alarm suddenly blared. Red lights flashed throughout the dome. "We've been detected," Major Green said. "We need to move now." They rushed the prisoners toward the exit, but the main door sealed shut before they could reach it. Vraxian guards would arrive any minute. "There's another way," one of the colonists said. "Through the back. I've watched them use it." Hudson nodded, and they changed direction, moving deeper into the facility before finding a service exit. Just as they reached it, 3 Vraxian soldiers appeared. They were tall beings, nearly 7 feet, with smooth gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were large and entirely black. Each carried a weapon that looked like it was grown rather than built. Without hesitation, the Earth soldiers opened fire. 2 Vraxians fell immediately. The third fired back, hitting one of Hudson's team in the leg before Major Green took it down. As the third Vraxian collapsed, Hudson noticed it was still breathing. Making a split-second decision that would change everything, he ordered, "Bring that one with us." "Sir?" Major Green questioned. "That's an order. We need to understand them better." They carried both the wounded Earth soldier and the injured Vraxian back to the Nightshade. The rescue was successful, all prisoners accounted for, and only one human injury. As they left Mars orbit, Hudson looked at the unconscious alien in their medical bay. It had a wound in what appeared to be its shoulder area. "Sir, what are we going to do with it?" the ship's doctor asked. "Treat its wounds," Hudson replied. "Then I'm going to try something that might seem crazy." "What's that, sir?" "I'm going to talk to it." Back on Earth, Dr. Taylor's breakthrough led to a shift in strategy. Instead of continuing to send peace messages, Earth now broadcast displays of military might, followed by offers to negotiate. The Vraxian attacks seemed to slow in response. Admiral Miller called a meeting of the United Defense Council. "We need to buy time," he said. "Our conventional weapons aren't effective enough against their technology. We need something more." A woman stood up at the end of the table. She wore a lab coat with a security badge that simply read, "Dr. Susan Wright, Classification Level, Omega." "Perhaps it's time to discuss Protocol Omega," she said. The room fell, silent. Most people there had never heard of Protocol Omega. Those who had never thought they would live to see it implemented. "Are we that desperate?" someone finally asked. Admiral Miller looked around the room. "The Vraxians have taken Mars. They have bases on Europa and Titan. Their main fleet is still gathering at the edge of our solar system. Yes, We are that desperate, Doctor. Wright nodded. Then let me tell you about humanity's best-kept secret, a project that's been hidden for over 50 years. Meanwhile, on the Nightshade heading back to Earth, the injured Vraxian opened its eyes to see Captain Hudson sitting beside its bed. "My name is George Hudson," he said slowly, "and I think we got off to a bad start." The Vraxian stared at him with those large black eyes. "Your name?" Hudson asked. After a long silence, the alien spoke in a voice like stones grinding together. "Kraz." Hudson nodded. "Hello, Kraz. I'm going to try something different. Instead of showing you our strength first, I'm going to show you something your people might not understand." "What?" the alien asked. "Mercy," Hudson said. 6 months into the war with the Vraxians, Earth was losing badly. The lunar base fell 3 weeks ago. The orbital defense platforms followed soon after. Earth's military forces, once thought to be strong, proved no match for the aliens' advanced technology. In a hidden underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Susan Wright led Admiral Miller through a long white hallway. Their footsteps echoed off the walls. "How long has Protocol Omega existed?" Miller asked. "Since 1972, Dr. Wright replied. "It began after certain incidents during the Cold War suggested humans might have untapped potential. They stopped at a thick metal door. Dr. Wright placed her hand on a scanner and the door slid open. Inside was a large room filled with what looked like sleeping pods. Each pod held a person, some men, some women, all in peak physical condition. These are the Omega soldiers, Dr. Wright explained. 200 of them. They've undergone treatment that activates certain dormant genes in human DNA. What kind of genes? Miller asked, looking at the sleeping faces. The kind that should not exist. In humans, not naturally at least. Genes that allow for extraordinary adaptation, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and more. Admiral Miller frowned. If this isn't natural, then what is it? Dr. Wright's face was serious. The truth, Admiral, is that normal humans are the unnatural ones. We've been engineered to be limited. Protocol Omega simply undoes some of those limitations. Meanwhile, on the Nightshade, now back in Earth orbit, Captain Hudson continued his unusual conversations with Kraz. The Vraxian was kept in a secure medical room, but not treated as a prisoner. Hudson had ordered the guards to show respect. "Why? Do you not torture me for information?" Kraz asked during their 5th meeting. "This is what winners do to losers." Hudson shook his head. "That's not how all humans operate. We believe there's strength in showing compassion." Kraz made a sound. That might have been laughter. "This is why your species will not survive. The galaxy is harsh, only the strongest live." "Have you encountered many other species?" Hudson asked. 17, Kraz replied. "All now serve the Vraxian Empire. All thought they were special. All fell before our might. And all of them fought, back with weapons." Kraz tilted his large head. "How else would they fight?" Hudson smiled. "That's what I'm trying to figure out. At NASA, Dr. Lisa Taylor worked day and night intercepting and decoding Vraxian communications. She hadn't left the building in weeks. When she finally broke the latest encryption, her blood ran cold. She immediately called Admiral Miller. "Sir, we have a serious problem. The Vraxians are calling for reinforcements. Their main armada will arrive in less than 3 months." "How many ships?" Miller asked. "Thousands. What we've faced so far is just their scout force." The next day, the United Defense Council gathered for an emergency meeting. Dr. Wright presented her report on Protocol Omega. "The first deployment of Omega soldiers at the Australian defense line was successful," she said. 20 Omega soldiers held off an attack force of over 100 Vraxians. General Ryan Clark, who had opposed the protocol, looked surprised. "How is that possible?" "The soldiers' enhanced abilities allow them to adapt quickly to Vraxian weapons," Dr. Wright explained. "Their bodies learn from each exposure, becoming more resistant." Admiral Miller stood up. "Then we need to deploy all Omega soldiers immediately." "There's something else you should know," Dr. Wright said. "The Omega soldiers are just the first step. The full protocol includes something much more drastic. Before she could continue, an aide rushed into the room. "Sir, Captain Hudson's ship is requesting emergency landing clearance. He says it's urgent." The Nightshade landed at the secret mountain base an hour later. Hudson emerged with Kraz walking beside him, surrounded by armed guards. The sight of a Vraxian on Earth soil made many people step back in fear. "This is unprecedented, Captain," Admiral Miller said. "Bringing an enemy combatant to a top-secret facility." "Sir, Kraz has crucial information," Hudson replied. "The Vraxians have faced other human-like species before. They consider us just another conquest." Miller's eyes narrowed. "And you believe this alien?" "I do, sir. And there's more. The attacks so far are just tests. They're studying our responses, looking for weaknesses." Dr. Wright approached Kraz with open curiosity. "Captain Hudson says you've been cooperative. Why?" Kraz looked at her with those large black eyes. "I am curious. In all our conquests, no species has ever treated a captured warrior with respect. It is confusing." Admiral Miller sighed. "Well, your curiosity may have doomed your people. We're about to launch Commander Hart's Omega team to retake the lunar base." As if on cue, the room's main screen lit up with a live feed from space. A small transport ship approached the moon. Inside were Commander William Hart and 30 Omega soldiers. The world watched as the enhanced soldiers engaged the Vraxian forces on the lunar surface. What should have been a massacre turned into something else entirely. The Omega soldiers moved with impossible speed. When hit by Vraxian weapons, their bodies seemed to adapt almost instantly. Within hours, the Earth forces had reclaimed the lunar base. The remaining Vraxians retreated in obvious confusion. Kraz watched the screen, his alien features showing what might have been shock. "What are these warriors? They are not normal humans." Dr. Wright smiled thinly. "No, they're not. But they're just the beginning." Later that night, in a private meeting room, Dr. Wright explained the full scope of Protocol Omega to Admiral Miller, Captain Hudson, and Dr. Taylor. "The enhanced soldiers are Phase 1, she said. Phase 2 is much more extensive. She activated a display showing a complex molecular structure. For over 50 years, governments around the world have been adding a special compound to public water supplies. This compound suppresses certain genetic expressions in humans." "You've been drugging the entire human race?" Hudson asked, horrified. "For our own protection," Dr. Wright replied. "The truth is, humans have potential that, if fully expressed, would make us something very different from what we are now." "Different how?" Dr. Taylor asked. "Throughout history, there have been reports of individuals with extraordinary abilities. People who could move objects with their minds, know things they shouldn't be able to know, survive conditions that should kill them. These weren't myths or exaggerations. They were glimpses of what humans really are." Admiral Miller leaned forward. "And Protocol Omega Phase 2 would stop this suppression?" Dr. Wright nodded. "We can remove the compound from the water supply. Within days, people would begin to change." "Would they still be human?" Hudson asked quietly. "That," Dr. Wright said, "is the question we've been afraid to answer for 50 years." Outside the room, pressed against the door and listening, Kraz learned the truth about the species his people had so carelessly decided to conquer. The world leaders gathered in a large underground room. Screens showed the Vraxian ships moving closer to Earth. According to Dr. Taylor's calculations, the main alien fleet would arrive in just 8 weeks. Admiral Miller stood before them. "We need to make a decision about Protocol Omega Phase 2, he said. "Dr. Wright will explain what it means for humanity." Dr. Wright took his place. Her face was tired but determined. For thousands of years, humans have not been what we were meant to be. The compounds in our water keep us limited. If we remove them, people will start to show abilities we now think impossible. "What kind of abilities?" asked the President of the United States. "It varies by person," Dr. Wright answered. "Some might develop extreme strength or speed. Others might gain mental powers like moving objects with their minds. Some might be able to heal quickly or even control energy." "This sounds like science fiction," said another leader. It would have sounded like that to me too before I saw the research, Admiral Miller said. But the Omega soldiers prove it's real. They're just the first step. And the risks? Asked the Chinese premier. Dr. Wright looked down. We don't know. If people can control these abilities at first, there could be accidents, chaos. And once we make this change, we can never go back to being what we are now. The room fell silent. The choice was clear but terrible. Remain human and likely face extinction or become something else with the power to survive. Captain Hudson watched the debate from the back of the room. He didn't have a vote, but Admiral Miller had asked him to attend. Hudson still wasn't sure how he felt about Phase 2. After the meeting, he went to see Kraz. The Vraxian was now kept in a comfortable room rather than a cell. It was still a prison, but Hudson had insisted on treating their alien guest with dignity. Your leaders argue about using your hidden power, Kraz said when Hudson entered. Hudson was surprised. How do you know that? Vraxians hear better than humans think, Kraz replied. What will they decide? I don't know, Hudson said honestly. Changing our entire species is a big step. Kraz made the grinding sound that passed for laughter. Humans are strange. You have a weapon that could save you, yet you worry about using it. Because we might lose something important in the process, Hudson explained. Our humanity. What is this humanity worth if you are all dead? Kraz asked. Hudson had no answer. In her lab at NASA, Dr. Lisa Taylor worked on her own solution. She believed there might be a way to communicate with the Vraxians, to make them understand that war was unnecessary. If Hudson could reach one Vraxian, perhaps they could reach others. Her assistant, Ben Wright, helped her build a special communication device. It would translate human concepts that didn't exist in the Vraxian language, like mercy and cooperation. Do you really think this will work? Ben asked as they finished. I have to try, Lisa replied. If we activate Phase 2, we might save ourselves from the Vraxians, but at what cost? We might become something that doesn't need saving. The next day, the world leaders voted. The decision was made to prepare for Phase 2, but wait until the IAA last possible moment to implement it. They would try other options first. Commander William Hart didn't agree with waiting. His Omega soldiers had retaken not just the lunar base, but also 2 outposts on Mars. He believed they could win with just the soldiers they had. We don't need to change everyone, he argued to Admiral Miller. My teams can handle this. The Vraxian main fleet has over 10,000 ships, Miller replied. You have 200 soldiers, the math doesn't work. Hart's face hardened. Then give me permission to take the fight to them. Let us board their command ship. Miller considered this. It would be a suicide mission. Maybe, Hart admitted, but it could buy us time. Meanwhile, Captain Hudson had another idea. He requested a meeting with Admiral Miller, Dr. Wright, and Dr. Taylor. I want to take Kraz to meet with the Vraxian fleet commander, Hudson said. They looked at him like he was crazy. Hear me out, he continued. Kraz has seen how we treat prisoners. He's confused by it. The concept of mercy is alien to them. What if that's our real advantage? Not our hidden powers, but our compassion. You want to bet humanity's survival on an alien understanding? Kindness? Dr. Wright asked skeptically. I want to try before we change ourselves forever, Hudson replied. Admiral Miller thought for a long moment. We'll try both approaches. Commander Hart will lead a strike team against their command ship. You can try your diplomatic approach with Kraz, and we'll prepare to activate Phase 2 if both fail. The next week, things got worse. The Vraxians, seemingly angry about the loss of the lunar base, attacked 3 major cities with small fighter ships. Thousands of people died. The public demanded action. President Laura Chen appeared on screens worldwide. We face our greatest challenge, she said, but humanity will not fall. We have sent a final warning to the Vraxian fleet. Stop attacking or see our true face. Dr. Wright's team worked day and night to prepare the global water system. They created a neutralizing agent that would remove the suppression compound within hours. Commander Hart's team prepared for their desperate mission. They would use the Nightshade's stealth technology to approach the Vraxian command ship and board it. Captain Hudson prepared too. He and Kraz would take a small shuttle under a flag of truce. Hudson still believed there was a chance for peace. The night before the missions were to begin, Hudson visited Dr. Taylor at NASA. "Your communication device is ready?" he asked. She nodded. "It will translate concepts they don't have words for, but George, do you really think this will work?" He sighed. "I don't know, but I have to try. If we activate Phase 2, we'll save humanity by changing what humanity is. That seems like losing even if we win." Lisa looked at him with sad eyes. "Be careful. The Vraxians don't understand mercy. They might see it as weakness. Or they might see it as something new." Hudson replied, "Something worth learning about." As they talked in secret facilities around the world, the last doses of the Omega treatment were given to volunteers who would serve as a last line of defense if all else failed. And in orbit around Jupiter, the massive Vraxian armada continued its approach toward Earth, unaware of the true nature of the small blue planet they intended to conquer. The Vraxian armada entered Earth's solar system in a vast swarm of ships. They moved past Jupiter, then Mars, ignoring the small human outposts there. Their target was clear: Earth itself. In the underground command center, Admiral Miller watched the alien fleets approach on the main screen. Beside him stood Dr. Wright and President Chen. "Commander Hart's team is in position," Miller said. "Captain Hudson's diplomatic shuttle is approaching the Vraxian command ship." President Chen looked at Dr. Wright. "And Phase 2? "The neutralizing agent has been distributed to water systems worldwide," Dr. Wright replied. "We can activate it with one command." On his small shuttle, Captain Hudson sat across from Kraz. They were traveling under a flag of truce, a concept Hudson had to explain to the alien. "Your Supreme Commander will speak with us?" Hudson asked. Kraz made a gesture with his upper arms. "Yes, your approach is unusual. Vraxians respect the unusual, even from enemies." The shuttle was hailed by the enormous Vraxian command ship. It was bigger than any human vessel, shaped like a perfect oval with a surface that rippled with blue-green light. Hudson felt a chill remembering the first contact vessel that Lieutenant Shaw had fired upon months ago. That ship now seemed tiny compared to this monster. "Remember," Hudson said as they prepared to dock, "I need you to translate not just my words but my intentions." "I will try," Kraz said. "But some concepts do not exist for my people." Meanwhile, hidden in the shadow of a small moon, Commander Hart and his team of Omega soldiers waited in the nightshade. They would attack only if Hudson's mission failed. "Be ready to move on my command," Hart told his soldiers. "If we can disable their main ship, it might buy Earth enough time." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Taylor monitored both missions from NASA. Her communication device was connected to Hudson's shuttle. She would help translate complex human ideas that the Vraxians might not understand. "Hudson's shuttle has docked," she announced to the command center. "They're going in." Hudson and Kraz were led through long corridors by Vraxian guards. The inside of the ship was strange. The walls seemed almost alive, pulsing with a faint light. They reached a large chamber where a Vraxian larger than the others waited. Its skin was darker and it wore markings that Hudson assumed signified rank. "Supreme Commander Vrax," Kraz said with a gesture of respect. Hudson activated Dr. Taylor's translation device. "I am Captain George Hudson of Earth. I come to speak before further blood is shed." The Supreme Commander made a harsh sound. "You attacked first. Then you showed strength by retaking your moon base. Now you wish to talk? Interesting strategy. We want to show you something your people may not understand," Hudson said carefully. "When we captured Kraz, we could have tortured him for information or killed him. Instead, we treated his wounds and showed him respect." "Yes, this was strange," Vrax said. "Weakness, perhaps?" "Not weakness, mercy, compassion. We believe there is strength in restraint." The Supreme Commander seemed confused. "These concepts do not translate well." Hudson turned to Kraz. "Tell him what you've seen among humans." Kraz stepped forward. "These humans are different from other species we've conquered. They could have activated their full power already, but hesitated because they fear losing what they call their humanity. What power? Vrax demanded. Before Kraz could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. A Vraxian officer rushed into the chamber. Earth ships are attacking our fleet, the officer reported. Hudson was shocked. This wasn't the plan. Commander Hart was supposed to wait. On the Nightshade, Hart had received new orders directly from Admiral Miller. Plan changed. Attack. Now, Hart didn't question the order. His team launched their assault, targeting the command ship's propulsion systems. The Omega soldiers, with their enhanced abilities, quickly broke through the Vraxian defenses. Back on Earth, President Chen looked at Admiral Miller with anger. You gave the order to attack? We agreed to try diplomacy first. Diplomacy was taking too long, Miller replied. The Vraxian fleet is still advancing. Then we have no choice, President Chen said. She turned to Dr. Wright. Activate Phase 2. Dr. Wright hesitated for just a moment, then pressed a sequence of buttons on her console. Around the world, the neutralizing agent began to flow through water systems, removing the compound that had limited human potential for generations. On the Vraxian command ship, Supreme Commander Vrax was furious. This was a trick, he shouted at Hudson. You spoke of peace while planning attack. No, Hudson protested. This wasn't the plan. Please listen to me. If you attack Earth now, you'll face something far worse than our weapons. Your threats mean nothing, Vrax said. We will destroy your world today. Kraz stepped between them. Supreme Commander, I have lived among these humans. They are not like other species. They have hidden their true nature even from themselves. Vrax ignored him and turned to his officers. Begin the attack. On Earth, the first effects of Phase 2 began to appear. In New York, a kindergarten teacher named Dorothy Clark watched in shock as the cup on her table moved when she thought about picking it up. In a small town in China, a farmer named Wei Lin felt a strange energy flowing through his hands. Rio de Janeiro, a bus driver named Carlos Mendez suddenly knew exactly what his passengers were thinking. The Vraxian fleet launched its attack on Earth's major cities. Their weapons easily penetrated the conventional defenses. But then something unexpected happened. In London, as a Vraxian energy beam headed toward Big Ben, a group of ordinary citizens raised their hands in unison. The beam stopped in midair, then reversed direction, striking the ship that fired it. In Tokyo, a young woman named Yuki Tanaka watched a Vraxian landing craft descend toward her neighborhood. She felt a surge of power, and suddenly, the craft froze in place, then crumpled like paper. All across the planet, ordinary humans were discovering extraordinary abilities. Some could move objects with their minds. Others could generate protective shields of energy. Some could even reach out with their thoughts and disable the alien ship's systems. In the command center, Dr. Wright watched the reports coming in with a mixture of awe and fear. It's working even better than we predicted, she said. The collective effect is magnifying individual abilities. On the Vraxian command ship, Hudson watched on a screen as the Earth seemed to glow with a strange energy. The attacking Vraxian ships were falling, disabled by an invisible force. What is happening? Supreme Commander Vrax demanded. Earth's final warning, Hudson said quietly. Stop attacking, or see our true face. At that moment he felt something change within himself too. A new awareness, a connection to others. He could feel the minds of billions of humans, all suddenly awakened to their true potential. With a thought, Hudson disabled the restraints the Vraxians had placed on him. He turned to Supreme Commander Vrax, his eyes now glowing slightly. We tried to warn you, he said. Humans have been hiding our true nature for thousands of years, not from you, but from ourselves. We feared our own power. Vrax stepped back, truly afraid for the first time. What are you? We're still figuring that out, Hudson replied. But I suggest you leave us in peace while we do. Within hours, the remaining Vraxian fleet was in full retreat. The message they sent back to their homeworld would be studied by human scholars for generations. We sought to conquer what looked like prey. We found gods pretending to be mortal. Retreat immediately. Earth Sector Forbidden. As Hudson's shuttle returned to Earth, he looked down at the planet he called home. It looked the same from space, but he knew everything had changed. Humanity had awakened. What happens now? Kraz asked beside him. I don't know, Hudson admitted. We're something new now. But I hope we keep the best parts of what we were. Below them, a new chapter in human history had begun. The suppression was over. Earth had revealed its true face, not just to the Vraxians, but to itself.